Hey guys!
And gals!
So today we will have a look at the new mixer from MindMeld, the MixMaster, which is probably the most deep and complete feature-wise mixer in VCV. So there's a lot to cover, and we will start with the basic features. So we have 16 channels, 16 stereo channels on in all, but we can also chain mixers through the chain input, or even send sub mixers to the mixer. And we have two options in the right click menu. If we go to chain input, we can set the incoming signals to come before or after the master output. And here I have actually such a sub mix. I have here the note sequencer from JW sequencing Blick from Volt, and this is a polyphonic signal, so it's going to split and being splitted into mixer 4 from Bog Audio. So this, and I have here sort of a sub mix, and this I will send to the chain input, and already we have some sound. And by default, if we go again to the right click menu, we can see that by default it's set to post master, so we have no control over the sound through the master fader. You can see I can take the fader all the way down. We still have sound. We have no control, but we also have the pre-master, again chain input, pre-master. Now it will show on the master fader or master track, and we have control over it as well. So I can change the level of the submix with the mix I have set on the MixMaster, but let's take it down, let's take it out for a second. Now, as I said, we have 16 stereo channels, but if we have a mono signal, it will be normaled or normalized to both channels. And this mixer has also polyphonic inputs, so we can send polyphonic signals directly to it. But just keep in mind that the levels will be higher as more voices we have. So let's take the level of channel 1 a bit down, let's say something like this. And let's send Blick this time. Again, it's outputting a polyphonic signal. Let's send it this time directly to the mixer to input to channel 1. And we have all of the voices now in channel 1. Very nice, and you can already see that we have a VU meter, a dedicated VU meter for each channel, so we know when the levels are too hot maybe. And here there is something I want to add. It's a bit technical and maybe boring for a few of you, but I think it's important to understand. At 0 dB, if I zoom in, you can see here we have 0 dB. The signal actually reaches only half of its level, so positive 5 volts. And only at 6 dB or positive 6 dB, the signal reaches 10 volts. So as long as the meter doesn't reach 6 dB, there will be no distortion or anything like that. So just keep this in mind. It's important for when you are mixing, so you have enough headroom. But the master track will work a bit differently. So here at 0 dB, it will already reach 10 volts. And in the right click of the master track, so if I right click the master name here, we can choose between two different settings for the clipping. By default it's set to soft, which means that when clipping on the master track, it will get this nice and warm saturation, which is always good. But we also have hard clipping, so the sound will distort above 0 dB. Now we have also CV inputs for each channel for volume and panning. And they will also give visual feedback. So if I take, for example, an LFO, let's use the LFO from Bog Audio, and I will modulate, let's say, the panning of the first voice. You can see the actual movement. The same would be with volume, and of course, volume needs a unipolar signal. We can also turn this off in the right click menu. We can change fader CV pointers. We can turn this off, and now they will be away if you don't want this. And we can also turn this off for the knobs. So we can choose to have it always on just when modulating, or always off. So if we go back now to modulate the panning, you see now we have no visual confirmation. but we can turn this on only for modulation. And now when I turn a different knob, You see there is no visual confirmation, but I can turn this on all the time, and now even when I turn the knob, we can see this arc, which is also nice. Very nice. Now we have also polyphonic inputs for mute and solo. So let's use, for example, the merge module and the manual gate, which will look like this. And let's say I want to solo track number 5. So what I will do, I will send the gate to channel 5 on the merge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the polyphonic output to the solo poly input. And now I can just solo track 5. Of course I can solo also other together, depends on the channel we have here. This will work the same also with mutes. So I can mute, let's say, channel 1 and 5 in this case. Very nice. Now we also have, let's disconnect this, we also have 4 groups that we can use, and we will look at them more later. But this will work also, the mute and solo, also for the groups. So we have here polyphonic mute and send for the group and for the master that we will also see later. But let's have a look now, for example, for the groups. So 1 until 4 will mute the groups, 1 will mute channel 1, 2 will mute channel 2, and 5, from 5 onward it will solo them. So this we can also use, those polyphonic mute and solo. Okay, now I have here some drums set, so let's send them also from entry and audio, let's send them also to the mixer. This time it's a stereo channel. Oh yeah. Let's just reset everything. Very nice. Now I also have here a nice bass from the Voldemar going through Slap and Leica. So let's connect this also to channel 3. Oh yeah. Very nice. Okay, now already a really nice feature of this mixer is the ability to name the tracks. So let's name or rename the first channel, the first track, to pad. I just double click it and enter pad. We have up to 4 letters, which is amazing. The second one can be drums, and the third one will be bass. Very nice. Now this makes it of course really easy to know what goes where and what controls which voice, which is amazing. Now I want to add some reverb to the pad, for example, as a send effect. So we have an expansion module for this mixer, so let's edit this one here, and just keep in mind it has to be linked or close or connected through the right here, and you can see when I bring it closer it becomes one module. So this is the expansion module for send and returns, so we can have some send effects. We also have here, of course, control for each channel and for the groups. We also have polyphonic CV inputs for controlling the auxiliary. We have up to 4 auxiliary tracks. So let's add a reverb, and I will use plateau from Valley. Very nice. Let's make the connections. We will send this to auxiliary 1. To the first auxiliary. Also here we can name the channel, so let's name this verb, so we know this send effect is a reverb. And now you can see also here that the names of the channels got automatically added to the expander, which is also amazing. So now I know exactly which channel is what, so I can add send effects. Let's change the settings of plateau a bit. Let's take the dry signal out, because again we are using it as a send effect. Maybe less decay, a bit more modulation, maybe change the settings of the filter here a bit. And And now let's add some reverb for the pad. So verb is red, so channel A. Oh yeah. Oh yes, okay, let's add some delay also to the bass, and I will use Chronoblob 2 from Allright Devices. Let's first of all sync it with our clock. Let's change this to ping pong. Again, take the wet all the way up, so we get just the wet signal. Maybe take the feedback a bit down. Change the time, the delay time a bit. Make the connection. Let's also name this track Delay. Very nice. And let's add some delay to the bass. So this will be orange. Okay, now I also have a sequence here from the FM operator, receiving a sequence from the grid sequencer. So let's send this to another channel. Name this FM op. Maybe take the levels just a bit down. And let's add some reverb to it. And again, you can see already here we have the name automatically transferred or copied. Down. Okay, now of course we can mute different channels. So let's mute, for example, the first 3, but we can also unmute all of them with holding Control and Shift on the keyboard and then clicking 1, and it will unmute all of them. And we can also mute a signal channel, again by holding Control and Shift. So if I have here, for example, those 3 muted, now I want to mute only the FM operator or the channel of the FM operator. Again, I hit or I hold Control and Shift and click it. So now they will switch, now just the FM operator will mute. And of course we can also solo multiple channels. And also here unsolo all. Again, Control and Shift, or solo only 1. Or we can also A/B the channels. So if, for example, here I have the FM operator and I want to, let's say, see how it sounds like with the pad. So I just hit Control and I click the pad, and when I click it again with Control held, it will just switch between the channels so I can A/B them. Very nice. And again, all of the shortcuts will be in the manual, which is also amazing, so have a look at the manual also. Now let's add a nice kick drum. I have here Tremor 2 from Volt. Oh yeah. Let's rename this kick. Okay, now if you right click the name of the channel, we have a few options. We can change the input gain, the gain adjust, which is great for gain staging before you start mixing. So you can make sure that all of the levels are the same without touching the faders, and just then start the mixing process, which is amazing. We can also add filters. So let's add, for example, high pass filter. Let's say everything below 200 will be cut. I can add also a low pass filter, so everything above, let's say 13K will be cut. To the fade we will come back later, but what we can also do is copy those settings, the gain and the cutoff and the filters, I mean, to another channel, which is quite cool. So let's say I want to have the same settings on the pad also, so I can just set copy track menu settings to pad. And now also here we have the filter, and if we have adjusted the gain, also this was here, would appear here. And now you can see also we have lights. We have a green light and a blue light. A green light means that we have a high pass filter active, and the blue light means we have a low pass filter active. So you can see which channel has a filter active. Now we can also move an entire channel to a different channel. So let's say, for example, I want the kick to be next to the drums. So I right click the name and I go to choose move to, and I will move it to where the bass is, next to the drums. And it will copy everything. It will copy or not copy, it will move the cables, move the settings, the faders, everything, which is quite amazing. So you can just move channels like this and create your own mix, or as you want it to show on the mixer. Now we can also link a few faders together. So let's link, and we have two options for this. So let's link the kick and the drums. I will right click the kick and I will choose link fader and fade, and you can see here we have like a red stripe, which means that this fader is linked. But what I can also do, I can hit Alt or hold Alt on the keyboard and hit the click the next fader I want to link, and now it will just link the fader, and now I can move one of them and they both move together. And also here, if I hold Shift and Alt and click one of them, it will unlink all with one click, which is also really nice. Now also the master fader has a few options. So here I'm seeing that I'm clipping already. I will just take it down a bit. So first of all, we can mono everything, which is again amazing for mixing. Mixing in mono is very important. And we can also activate dim, which will lower the gain of the master track by what we have set in the right click menu. So when I hit dim, the levels will go down according to what we have here. Dim gain, now it's set on negative 12 dB. So again, it's perfect for mixing, so we have enough headroom. Let's leave it off for now. And by the way, we can also trigger them through the polyphonic CV inputs. So if you go back here, it will start at channel 9. So I will send the trigger, manual trigger, to channel 9, and this will go again to the mute, solo, group and master. So channel 9 will be mute, the master track. Channel 10 will be dim. 11 will be mono, and so on. So this we can also modulate or automate. Now we also have a DC blocker in the right click menu of the master track, which will take care of DC offset built in the mixer, which is a beautiful thing. So we can activate the DC blocker, and again, like we've seen before, choose between soft and hard clipping. Okay, now let's add another voice, which is a sort of a solo voice I have here from the Wave oscillator from Blamsoft. Let's send this to another channel. Oh yeah. Let's name this also solo, and let's add some reverb and delay to it also. So already here we have the channel name, so I know this is the solo channel. Add some reverb, some delay. Very nice. Now let's start utilizing the groups a bit. So let's send the drums and the kick to the first group, and there are two ways to do this. So first of all, let's go to the kick. I have here in the view folder here, I have parameter tooltips active. So when I hover, for example, over the group settings here, I see this is the bass channel, this is the kick. Also, when I hover above the solo, so I don't have to go up and look for the name and look for which channel this is, I can do this from here. So let's send the kick to group number 1. I just hit the plus button here and I can move between the groups. So let's change this to 1. But what I can also do, if you go to the drums, I just hover with the mouse above this window here and I just hit the number I want on my keyboard. So let's say I want to send this to 4, I just hit 4 and you can see that it's going now to group 4. In our case I want to send this to group 1. And now here we have group 1, let's change this also to drums. Let's take the level of the solo a bit down. So now the drums, the kick and the drums are going to group number 1. Now we can add some parallel processing just to the drums, like adding some nice saturation, for example. So let's do this with the Briatus from Volt. Let's make the connections to another send and return. Let's do this here maybe. To the third channel. Third auxiliary channel, change this to saturation, maybe something like this. Let's add some saturation and some folding, maybe also to add some edge to the sound. And now I can go to the group. I see here the drums group, and I can add the light blue, which is the saturation. Let's solo this also so we can listen to this. Now just the drums are being saturated a bit. And let's send also the sequence, the FM operator and the pad to another group. So we'll just hover above this window and I will hit 2 for the pad and also for the FM operator. So now they're going to group number 2. Let's name this, let's say granular or something like this, grain. And this time we will use clouds from mutable instruments or the texture synthesizer from audible instruments. Let's make the connections to another auxiliary channel. Let's name this clouds. Blend all the way up. Again, I just want the wet signal. Also spread it, a bit of feedback and maybe lots of reverb. Let's take the texture also all the way up so we get something nice and smeared and start generating some grains. Maybe the input gain also a bit up. And now I can start sending the granular to clouds, the granular group to clouds, which is purple. Let's send all of it. Let's solo this. Let's see. Let's add some volume. Oh yeah. Let's see what happens when I take it 1 octave higher. Maybe take the input gain a bit down. Oh yeah. Very nice. So it's really nice to add, really easy to add parallel processing. Okay, now another really cool feature is we can change the colors of the VU meters in the right-click menu. We go to VU colors, we can change this globally. So let's say I want everything to be aqua. But we can also do this per track, which is amazing. So we go here, VU colors set per track. And now in each track settings, let's go to the pad, for example. We have here VU color. And we can change this to aqua. Let's do the same for the FM operator. Let's set the drums, for example, to be purple and the kick to be also purple. The bass can be, let's say, blue and the solo can stay green. We can do this also for the drums, for the groups. So this was purple and the granular was blue, I guess, or aqua actually. So now we have for each channel or the different channels, we have a different VU meter. Which is really nice. Now we can also change the colors of the text, which is in the display color. Again, we can do this set per track. So let's say the pad, I want the display color to be again, what was it, blue? Or aqua actually, it was aqua. Or I can choose different colors also. Let's say for the drums, the display color will be light gray, for example. And so on. You can change this per track and also for the groups, which is amazing. Mixing and having a wider view, really easy. Okay, another thing we have here, we have polyphonic inserts, ins and outs, for each channel or for the different channels, also for the groups and for the auxiliary also. So we can process the sound with an insert effect, like compression for example. So let's add compressor from Bog Audio, which is a compressor. And those are again polyphonic ins and outs. So let's add another merge, so we can merge different signals to a polyphonic signal. And let's add also split. I think it should be something like this, should be the other way around. So first of all we will split the signal. Let's go with the groups for example, and then we will return them to the polyphonic inputs. Now I will want to compress the drums, so drums will be 1 and 2 in this case because we are in the groups poly output. So 1 and 2 will go to the compressor. Now when I connect this to merge, listen to what happens. We lose the second group because we have to manually connect it. This is how it will work. So I have to manually connect the group from the split to merge, so we have it also here. But there's an easy fix to this. Instead of using merge, we can use infix from Störmelder. And what we will do something like this. First of all, we will split the signal once into the split module, and then once again to infix. And from infix, it will go back to the group poly input. And now we will use just the drums, and you see that we have all of the signals because we have here poly in and out, so it will make the connections internally, which is quite comfortable. So you can use infix for this. And now you can see we already have a signal here. I can compress the drums. So let's make it a bit of a longer attack, shorter release. Let's change the ratio to about 4 and take the threshold down, something like this, and the output gain, take it up. Oh yeah. So now we have compression just on the drums, just on the drums group, to add this character to the sound. Now we also have individual outputs, which are also polyphonic, so you can use a split module to split the signals, to split the channels, and multi-track record everything, for example, which is also really handy. Now there are a few more settings in the right-click menu I want to show you. So you can change the routings of almost everything, the filters, if they will be pre-insert or post-insert, and also here set per track, which is amazing. You can change the mono pen low, the stereo pen mode, the auxiliary sends, how they will be routed, the auxiliary returns. You can have routing returns to group, which is on by default. The protection is on by default, but if you turn it off, you can create all sorts of feedback loops. The chain input we've seen before. The direct outputs, they can be pre-insert, pre-fader, post-fader, and so on. And again, set per track, which is also amazing. To the fades, we will come back later. We have also echo mode, which is a sort of a CPU light on the CPU mode. So if I turn here the CPU meter, you can see it's hitting about, let's wait for it, 3.8, let's say, 3.9. If I turn echo mode off, it will jump up to 4.9 probably, or 5 even. But let's turn it on again, so it will be lighter on the CPU, but anyway you can see that it's not heavy. And we have also here down, we have clocked mode, which will turn off the visualization for all the view meters, except of the master fader, so it will be again a bit lighter on CPU. But but let's keep this off for now and turn off the CPU meter. Okay, now let's have a look at another really nice feature, which is the fade feature, which is a crazy thing if you think about it. So each channel, including groups and master, they have a fade option in the right click menu. Let's do this again for the drums. So if I right click it, you can see we have a fade, so we can set the fade duration. So let's say about 5 seconds, and also the shape from linear to logarithmic to exponential. Let's go 100% exponential, so it will start slowly and end quickly. And now you can notice here down that the mute button became a fade button. And if I click it, this channel, this group channel will fade out slowly. So let's click it once and have a look here. So it exponentially faded out. If I click it again, it will fade in, and have a look, it will again start slowly and end quickly. Which is crazy, but we can also change this in the settings here, in the fade settings, to be symmetrical. So now it will start quickly and end slowly. And now it will start slowly and end quickly on the way up. This is very cool, and again you can do this for also the individual channels. So let's do this for example for the bass. Again, let's go for about 5 seconds, leave it linear. And if we do this for the individual channels, we have a sort of an envelope follower output out of the polyphonic fade CV. So if I add a scope, let's have a look at it. I will just connect this to the scope. Let me zoom out a bit. And now when I click the fade to the bass channel, you can see here we have movement. I will click it. So also here we have voltage going down, and again it will go up when I fade it in. So this is a sort of an individual envelope follower for each channel that you can use, for example, to modulate a filter. So when the level goes down, also the filter closes, or controlling other modules, which is also really interesting. It's a really nice feature. And I'm sure there are other features that I missed, but there is a really nice manual. And this was the MixMaster for MindMeld, full of beautiful features. Go download it. It's available for free. Go have fun with it. Like always, there will be a link in the description to this patch. Feel free to download it and take a closer look. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you enjoy what I do, consider becoming a Patreon. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and hit the bell. And have a good one.